Hi, this is Ceema, and welcome back to a new lesson called Sex and People. Well, I have your attention already because of the topic. The reason why I brought out this topic is because sex and people, a really big deal, right? Well, there are some people who indulge in too much of sex. There are some people who indulge in normal to moderate sex. And then there are some crazy people who indulge in no sex at all, whatever that is, okay? When we are talking in English, we have certain words that we use to describe such people, right? Because there are different kinds of people relating to their sex appetites, right? So let's look at a few of these words and see how we can apply them, okay? The first one is easy. Well, who is a person who is really easy? Well, firstly, easy is a word that you use mostly for girls, okay? You don't really use it for a man, you would use it for girls. And these are girls who are really easy to sleep with. Well, why are they really easy to sleep with? Because, these girls, you buy them dinner, you take them out for one date, and you've got them, right? So it's very easy to lure them into your bedroom because they're very easy, right? Well, not all girls are very easy, but girls who are, really easy to sleep with, who sleep around a lot, girls who really sleep around with multiple partners as a part of their lifestyle are called as girls who are really easy. And we have some girls, again, this is a word you will only use with girls. They are tight. Well, what do you mean by tight? Or you could say, some people call them tight-assed for some reason. Well, this word is quite the opposite of the word easy, okay? So these are opposites, okay? And they're not the same, they're opposites. So these girls make sex a really big deal, okay? So you take them on one date, okay, you haven't scored. You take them on 2 dates, 3 dates, maybe 10 dates, 6 months, a year, and then they might just sleep with you depending on how they find you, okay? So they're really tight-assed, or what we call as very tight girls. So guys go something like, that girl's really tight. It's kind of hard to get her on a date. Yeah, well, she's not easy, she's quite tight, yeah? So easy and tight have two different meanings when it comes to how often a girl sleeps or wants to sleep with a man, okay? And the next one is hard to get. Now, again, this is used for girls, and the word hard to get is basically a term used for people who pretend, or girls for that matter, who pretend that they don't want to have sex, or they don't want to get into a date very soon, or they don't want to get into a relationship too soon. So they pretend that they don't want to get too involved. So people who are hard to get really test your patience, right? I mean, you really want to go and have 2 dates and, hit it with a girl, but she's really hard to get. So you're kind of wondering, is it going to take 2 dates? Is it going to take 3 dates? Is it going to take 1 night? Well, some people are just hard to get. So, maybe the girl wants it as much as you do, but she pretends to be a lady. She pretends that she doesn't want it as much as you do. So such girls are hard to get. But, they come by easily, I guess, eventually at least. So that's what hard to get means. And the next one is a slut, or you could say a whore. Now, this is my advice. Don't ever use either of these words to someone's face. Okay, so this is something that you would call a girl, but not to her face, because it's very offensive. You might get beaten. Okay, now what is a slut? Well, a slut is a word you use for someone who sleeps around. So, some people just go every night, they get a new partner, they sleep around. The next day, it's the same thing over and over and over again, and they have multiple partners. So such girls who are, very easily available for sex are called sluts. Okay. Now, such girls can also be called as a whore, but a whore, even though you can use it as an informal slang to talk about girls who sleep too much, can also is also another word for a prostitute, which means that such girls actually get paid to sleep with someone. So this could be used as a slang wherein you say, that girl sleeps around, she's a whore. She may not be getting paid to do it, but you call her that because of her lifestyle. But there are people who are whores by profession, so they get paid. They are prostitutes. They get paid maybe an hour, a certain amount an hour to do whatever they're doing, right? So you don't call these names to anyone on their face, okay? Remember that. And well, this is one category of people who are very difficult to understand for me. They are the frigid type. So these people are sexually unresponsive. Well, there are some people, believe it or not, no matter what you do, they just don't respond to sex. They have no desire to indulge in any kind of sexual activity, mating, whatever you may call it. They're just frigid. They're cold. You call them cold or frigid. Okay, so this could apply to a guy or a girl. Okay, so, well, it could be a medical reason because of which they are this way, or it could be because of a lot of childhood trauma that has made them a frigid person, but people are frigid, some of them. And the next one is bang-worthy. Well, normally guys call girls bang-worthy if they find the girl really hot, really attractive, someone who they would like for a one-night stand, guys go like, did you see that girl? She's really bang-worthy. Well, she might be because she is really hot, she's really attractive, and she could be someone ideal for your type of a one-night stand. So that's what bang-worthy means, right? And these two expressions are for guys. Okay, we've dealt a lot with girls. Okay, now a lot of these expressions are not used for guys because it is considered that guys are easy. Guys want to sleep around, most of them. So most of these terminologies are meant for girls, but there are some guys, who can't get away with, sex because they really behave very badly. Okay, so a man whore, well, that's a guy with really low standards. Okay, so a guy who sleeps around. So a guy who sleeps around too much is called a man whore. Now, this guy has very low standards because, he may end up sleeping with several partners in one night, probably. And the next morning, he may not even know their names, not even recognize their faces. Well, that's a man whore for you. Now, that may not necessarily mean that he's getting paid to do it, but he's called that because of his behavior. That's what his lifestyle is. Okay, so that's a guy with really, really, really low standards. Okay, that's not a guy you'd want to date. So that's a man whore. And you have a Casanova. Okay, now a Casanova is a word that is derived from the name of a person called Casanova, because that person used to be a very smooth talker. a very charming person. Do you know there are some guys, they talk to you and you melt, right? Your heart just pops up in your mouth. So, they are smooth talkers. They say the right things at the right time. They make you feel really weak in the knees. They are very charming. They're very smooth. So, a man called Casanova, sometime in the late 1880s it was probably, who was a writer and a spy, used to be a very good smooth talker and a nice charmer for women. So women always fell prey to his charms. So a guy like that is called a Casanova. Another word for Casanova could be a playboy or a womanizer. Well, they almost attract women like iron to a magnet. Yeah, like bees to honey. So that's what a Casanova or a womanizer or a playboy is all about. Now we're going to deal with the different types of sex that people are indulging in, okay? And there are quite a few of them, okay? Let's see what they are. All right, now getting on with people who indulge in different kinds of sex, okay? Well, there are some of them, right? So we've got some people who are called as boy toys, okay? This is a word referred to boys or men who are really young, but they are called especially for giving pleasure to ladies after ladies have had a bad breakup or a normal breakup maybe. Well, the girl is heartbroken and she wants, to feel a little good. So she calls her boy toy who makes her feel really good in bed. So he gives her a lot of pleasure when she is feeling lonely because now she is without her boyfriend, right? So that's what a boy toy is, and it is referred mostly to men or boys. And then you've got some people who are sadist people. Well, who are sadist people? There are some people who like to inflict pain. There are some people who like to humiliate you or even demean you as a person while having sex. Apparently, this gives them pleasure. Now, it sounds like a very mean thing, but if two sadists, they consensually, agree to having sex, for them that's a lot of fun because they're both agreeing to do that, right? So that's what sadism or being a sadist is all about. So when you inflict pain on people, humiliate people and have sex while doing that and you're having fun, well, you're a sadist, yeah? And the next one is a cougar. Well, what is a cougar? There are some older women, well, not really old women, but women in their 40s or late 30s or even maybe in their 50s who like to sleep with younger men, maybe in their early 20s or 30s. Well, they get a kick out of it, okay? So they don't like guys or men of their age. They prefer the young ones, the hot-blooded ones, yeah? That they make them feel good, they make them feel young perhaps. So they are what cougars are all about, okay? And then you have a pedophile. Okay, well, this is a very bad breed of people. It's a very wrong thing because a pedophile is someone who likes to have sexual relations with children. This is something that is illegal. It has to be stopped, but sadly, we have a lot of pedophiles in society today who prey on children in their puberty, children who are as young as maybe 5 or 6 or even, infants for that matter. So they are what pedophiles are all about, and that's a very bad breed of people, yeah, because they're very dangerous and they're very illegal. And then you've got incest. Well, I find this a little bit ew because incest is about having sex with your family members. Well, you can have a brother and a sister having sex. Well, I don't know how that works, but You can have an uncle and a niece having sex, or you can have a mother and a son having sex, which is like really something that you can't imagine these days. But there are people who indulge in incestual relationships, and that's what incest is all about, having sex within the family, right? It could be mutual, consensual, and it could also be forced. This again is a bad thing if it's forced. Well, if it's mutual and consensual, then well, that's a different thing altogether. But that's what incest is all about. And then you've got kinky. Well, kinky is a little bit like sadism or being a sadist, except that kinky may not always involve pain. So it could be like really weird stuff, okay? So there are people who like to be tied and made love to. There are people who like to have really gooey stuff all over their body, and they like to have sex in really weird situations. They don't have traditional sex. They have sex in a very different, abnormal way, a very weird way. So it's all weird stuff, and that's what kinky is all about. But whatever gives you pleasure, I guess. So these are the different kind of people and the different kind of sex that people indulge in. Well, that's it from me on this lesson with people and sex. I hope you found it interesting and quite informative. I'll be back with some more lessons. Until then, this is me saying goodbye and have safe sex.